Hi, this is Steve Addison, and you're listening to episode 187 of the Movements Podcast. Podcasts for people who want to multiply disciples and churches everywhere. Today we're talking to Joshua in Ipswich, Queensland about NoPlaceLeft Australia.
We had a prayer meeting that basically lasted for about a year and a half. It was the Spirit of God was just moving in such a powerful way. And, before that, I would say I was a worship leader. I loved to teach. But in terms of evangelism, it just really wasn't on my grid at all. But through this prayer meeting, we feel like the Lord just basically ejected us into the harvest. And we started on one of our local shopping centers, and particularly with praying for the sick, we started to see many, many people healed. There was a deaf girl, 14 years old, that we prayed for on a train. That was the first miracle that we'd seen on the street. She was completely deaf in both of her ears. And she wrote in her notebook, she said, "I can hear for the first time. I can hear the sounds of cars and whispers and different things like that." So that was kind of what sparked us. And we were sort of, the Lord just sort of ejected us into the harvest field. And we started with, some of the Way of the Master things and evangelism training like that. And we saw a lot of people coming to Christ. I started things called Rescue 316, which was, we had a vision to see like 50,000 decisions in a year. And we had launched 16 different shopping center outreaches throughout Queensland. And we were seeing amazing things. But I came to a point where people were making decisions for Christ, but it was very challenging to make the transition from what the Lord was doing on the streets to actually getting them into discipleship and into church. And at that time, we didn't really know any other way. So we would just invite them to church. But we found that there was only a very small portion of the number of people that were making decisions for Christ that were actually making it through to church. So that really started us on the journey of trying to explore, Lord, what does it mean to actually disciple these new ones? And we experimented with discipleship homes. We had people that were on ice and drugs and different things like that living in our house with us, and saw some exciting fruit through that. But I've read a few books on multiplication, and that really just ignited my heart. And so I ran a school called the Glory School of Supernatural Transformation for about 6 years. And every year I kind of feel like that was a practice run to try and see what we can do with discipling these new ones. And anyway, after I think it was about 5 years of running the school, and we saw some exciting things. We saw a bunch of Iranians come to Christ, about 60 of them. We saw a bunch of Iraqis in our backyard coming to Christ as well. But we still felt like we lacked the tangible path to be able to disciple them, and especially we really wanted to see these new ones begin to make disciples themselves. Yeah. So about 2.5 years ago, really where we started to get to a grid for disciple making movements, church planting movements, and things like that. And I feel like that the moment for me that shifted was when I was coming. We just did a conference, a Normal Christian Life conference, where we activate people to, go on the street. But and I was running a whole bunch of different things: a school, a church. I still run a legacy church. But I'm like, Lord, what do you want me to be focusing on? And I remember the Lord speaking to me so clearly. He said, I want you to see a movement of disciples making disciples. So that really ejected me sort of on this motivated me just to pursue, Lord, what are you saying? And I remember somebody introducing me to the book T for T. A guy that was coaching me talked to me about one of their guys, Zach, in Tonga, who was seeing movements of disciples making disciples, and that really intrigued me. So I got a hold of the book. I was sort of halfway through a school, and I read T for T, and it ignited something in my heart. I'm like, this feels like this is the missing piece. And so we started to implement some of those things in our school. We started to teach Yin Kai's first 6 lessons. And there was actually 2 Chinese girls that had responded to an altar call on a Friday night. And 2 of our Glory School students, David and Megan, went to disciple them. So on the Tuesday, they took them through kind of Yin Kai's first initial lesson, where, why do we share the gospel and who do we share the gospel to? And these girls wrote down about 27 names of people that they knew in their lives that were far from God. And they got so excited. They gave them some tools to be able to share the gospel, and they knew the next steps to what to do when they came to Christ, to actually train them in the same thing. These girls got so excited. They said, look, we're going into a lecture right after this. Do you think we can share the gospel with our friends in there? And so they said, yeah, go for it. So they immediately began to share with friends and family all over the place. And within 3 days, I think that they had led about 3 people to Christ. And then they trained them to go and do the same thing. So those 3 went off and they started to share the gospel, and another 2 came to Christ. So it had already gone another generation without us even meeting these next ones. So that was a real turning point for me. I'm like, we're seeing the fruit. I'm all in.
So you had like a long build up to this, 7.5 years, but when the time was right, it was just a tweak, wasn't it? It's not, it just was a fine tune, and it tipped the balance.
Yeah. I think the other thing was, we trained a lot of people in terms of evangelism. I think that we were motivating people, sharing about the importance of evangelism. We would teach people how to pray for the sick, but we didn't have any practical tools to really put in their hands. And so I think a lot of people would draw a blank when they're going out on the street. So even being introduced to tools like the 3 circles and the 4-on-1, we've found that there's been a significant increase in the number of gospel shares, just because the tool is so simple and so reproducible. So from there, we just started to we started to train everybody that everybody that would hear. So we went down to Newcastle, and there was a church down there that we started to train. With simple gospel tools like the 3 circles, and we put out a gospel challenge to people could actually pray about how many gospel shares would you share in a week, and people made a commitment. I think that we made a group goal of about 1,000 gospel shares over 4 weeks, and I think it ended up to be about 800 gospel shares total. And I think there was close to it was 150, just trying to remember the stats, 150 to 300 people over that period actually made decisions for Christ. So we're like, we were just amazed by the number of people that were actually making decisions. They say that Australia's, it's just hard soil. People already heard the gospel before, and they've already made a concrete decision. But we're finding that a simple, sharing a simple tool like the 3 circles, that many people are saying, yeah, I'm willing to turn and believe and make Jesus the King and Lord of my life.
So, what's been the development over the last 2.5 years since that initial breakthrough? What's it look?
Yeah. So I remember actually your podcasts were a phenomenal influence on my life, and I think I listened to what the guys were doing in Austin, Texas. With they call them the different Galilees, and they were doing that. I was introduced to the concept of the House of Peace Search. So I had done a lot of, Thursday night mall evangelism and different things like that. But I heard about this whole Luke 10 House of Peace Search, where you're basically following the model that Jesus gave to his disciples, going 2 by 2, healing the sick and finding the house of peace, and then staying with the house of peace. And when I heard that, I was like, that just makes a lot of sense. So I to be honest, I didn't like the idea of going door to door initially. I thought, well, that's what the Jehovah's Witnesses do. That's what the Mormons do. But I remember the Lord just speaking to me. He said, would you let go of your pride and just allow me to shine through you? So I started to do that with my daughter. I brought my daughter out. We just went door to door and offering to pray for people, sharing the 3 circles. And we were just amazed by the responsiveness of people. Now, obviously, some people say they're not interested. But we launched a team, I think, the beginning of last year, and that we're going out on a Saturday morning, just into the harvest. We're praying beforehand, and we're just knocking on people's doors, just offering to care for the community, and offering prayer, and then we share the 3 circles and the gospel. So just a really simple thing. Sometimes we say, hey, look, we've got a barbecue that's happening in a few weeks. And that kind of gets through the initial awkward conversation. But it's been amazing. It really has. In fact, just today, right after we meet, I'm going to be meeting with an Aboriginal family, Robin, Belinda, and their kids in our home here. And last year, I think it was on the first week, we had Mary Vaughn and Keith with us. They went out into the harvest and they knocked on a door. Maybe it was the second or third door. That household, Robin and Belinda, actually had come from Casino in New South Wales. They had felt that the Lord had called them up to Ipswich. Most of their family is far from God, but they were following the Lord. They didn't know why they were here, and they were praying that morning. They said, Lord, would you send somebody to our door to come and pray for us? And because we don't know why we're here. And so that moment, I checked with them, that moment that they actually knocked on the door, they were praying for somebody to come to the door. And so they got to pray for them. They got to minister to them. And we found that they have really been a household of peace. In fact, just in the last few weeks, I would say there's about 5 of their daughters that we'd shared the 3 circles with them. They all said that they were in brokenness. And they weren't ready to make that step to go into God's perfect design. But just a couple of weeks ago, they've all responded to Christ. Now they all want to get baptized, and they are so well connected in the community. Every time I go over there, there's another family, there's another person that I meet. For last year, we've made some I think some tweaks with our team. We have a thing called Kingdom Family on Mission, which is if you've listened to Steve's podcast, talking about residency, basically where you have a weekly rhythm where people are doing family, doing church together one day a week, and then we're out in the harvest. So we found that that's been a really helpful thing to create consistency with our team. I think that the challenge that we have been addressing, we were just talking about this on Wednesday night, is that we're getting a lot of decisions for Christ, and we're celebrating those decisions. But I feel like we probably haven't celebrated the consistency as much, and we need to actually celebrate both because our team is very evangelistic, and they love going out on the harvest, and we love the stories of families coming to Christ, baptisms, healings, things like that. But now what we're beginning to do is just to, on a weekly basis, to celebrate the consistency. So, for instance, we have Andrew and Sheila, who are an amazing couple. They met an Indian Fijian family, and they've been going through kind of the 7 stories of hope with them. They haven't come to a point where they've made a decision for Christ yet, but it's been an ongoing journey with them to really, kind of go through the creation to Christ story and things like that. And we found that the consistency of meeting people in their homes, that is showing a lot more fruit. So I think that was a major challenge, is that we're always breaking new ground, and we're probably not following so much of what Jesus said in Luke chapter 10, that when you find the house of peace, stay in the house of peace. So, yeah.
So you've attracted a lot of crazy pioneers, and maybe you need some of those pastor teacher types.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's a wonderful problem to have, Joel, because this is just in sort of middle Australia. Ipswich it's a suburban area. It's diverse because Australia's diverse, but you're doing this in the suburbs.
Yeah, exactly.
And what else is, because I know you've got your fingers in a lot of pies, so what else is popping up around Australia as you bring others on board and train and mobilize?
Yeah, well, we were just together in the Four Fields training. Amazing team. So you brought the team up, Troy Cooper and Rick and Jenny and Rachel and the guys from the UK. It was amazing. So we had people from South Australia. Obviously, God's doing amazing things in Perth. But just one story. One of my friends from Victoria, Jaleel, he has just jumped in the harvest. He's doing a 30 days in the harvest since he's been at the Four Fields, and he's very influential. He's worked for the Billy Graham organization down in Victoria there. And so he's just absolutely going for it, just running with it. Just yesterday, I was also talking with Ellie, and I was in Bendigo last week. There's some churches there that are so excited about the concept of disciple-making movements, of the House of Peace Search. And actually, just on Monday, I took a senior pastor out in the harvest. I thought, man, if there's anything that I could really deposit in this church down here, it would be actually going out and doing a House of Peace Search. So he had a dream about a house where he previously used to live. It was quite a lower socioeconomic area. And he said, you know what, just talking about the House of Peace, I remember that dream. So I was like, why don't we go for a drive? So we got some Easter eggs, and we're like, we're going to just give some Easter eggs to the community. We drive up, and he says, that's the house that was in my dream. And there's a lady that's sitting out the front. This is just on Monday. So we hop out of the car. We've got our 2 girls with us. And we walk up to her and just say, hey, we're just from this church, and we're offering to pray for people. And Jason just shared about his dream. And this lady, she just, it blows her mind. She said, you know what? I wasn't supposed to be out the front before because I'd called a taxi like an hour before, but then for some reason my order got canceled, and so I've been out the front here. Now you guys turn up. I'm just about to visit my daughter who's sick, and so we got to give her Easter eggs. She said, "Please give me some contacts about your church. I want to understand about this." And so, and then right after that, there's 2 guys that came up to us. We got to share the 3 circles with them, and a guy at the back says, Jason, and calls out to him. He hadn't seen him for 15 years. So it was just like within the spans of 10 minutes, there was all of these divine appointments. The lady's ready for Jason to come back and visit with him again. And so it's just been exciting. And then it's not only has it fruit been happening in Australia, the exciting thing is I believe that Australia is positioned for a a movement of disciple making that's going to spread to the nations. According to the ABC, I believe that we are the second most multicultural nation in the world. And so we've had people in the harvest. Bonani was a young Congolese boy that we had shared the 3 circles with. He decided to turn and believe and receive Jesus. And so we baptized him in the Brisbane River right after that in shark-infested waters. And from there, his cousin, we've been training. His cousin was just around here on Wednesday. His cousin's helping train a brand new church start in the Congo. So it's skipped from Ipswich to the Congo. We also trained a Peruvian lady in our school named Yana Lee. She went back to Peru, and within a short period of time, I think it was 2 weeks, she shares the 3 circles to her family and her friends, and they say, we're all in brokenness. They're weeping, they're crying. They all respond to Jesus. She leads 40 people to Christ within 2 weeks. Then she trains them solidly for 7 days, and she forms 2 home churches over there in Peru. Wow. So it's like the nations are literally at our doorstep. And
you have some Filipinos as well, don't you?
We do, yes, absolutely.
And it's jumped to the Philippines?
It's jumped to the Philippines. Yeah, we're doing some trainings in June in the Philippines. 4 fields, 4-on-1 trainings with pastors in Mindanao. I think in Mindanao there's about 60% of the tribes are unreached. And so they're on the front lines. We're going to be equipping them with tools to be able to reach all of those unreached tribes in the Philippines. And so it's been thrilling.
Wow. What's God put on your heart for Australia?
So from a local perspective, we as a team, we have really taken ownership to see No Place Left in 5 suburbs. And there's 48,061 people in our local area. We believe that we're going to be able to see, we're believing for No Place Left in 2 years, that everybody has the opportunity to hear the gospel and respond. And we want to see multiple streams of generational, churches that are being planted, that are spreading overseas, and groups that are being formed. I believe that this nation is ready for this. I'm so encouraged, even just hearing your story about how God has used you all over the world through your books and through your podcasts to so strengthen and encourage people in disciple making movements. But even moving back to Melbourne, that is such a confirmation to me that Australia is so right for this. And we're believing, the great Southland of the Holy Spirit, the prophecy that Smith Wigglesworth prophesied that the last greatest move of God would happen in the nation of Australia. If that is going to happen in Australia, being the second most multicultural nation in the world, I believe that not only we're going to see movements here, but we're going to see movements that are going to empower local and international missionaries that are going to impact the nation. So, yeah. We're believing for big things for Australia.
Has anyone showed you the 3 circles before? Have you heard of
3 circles before?
Has anyone ever shared
the 3 circles with you?
Before?
No.
So this is the first circle. So this represents the world that's broken.
All of us live in a broken world.
You only have to tune on the news and see
suffering, death,
war, sickness,
rape, disease. It's everywhere, right?
But God didn't actually create the world to be like this, full of brokenness, Here's the second circle.
This circle represents God's perfect design.
God's perfect design was a world without brokenness.
A world full of love.
full of joy and peace and unity.
But what we did was we sinned.
Sin could be anything from lying to murder.
Wait, so just like normal lying or like hard lying?
And what sin did, it separated us from God's perfect design and threw us into brokenness.
And so people try all kinds of different things to get out of brokenness. They might try drugs or alcohol.
Or maybe chasing a career or money. Smoking. Even bullying other people at school.
Oh, sleeping around. Suicide, exactly. A good example. But it doesn't actually fix the problem of brokenness.
It's like a bungee cord. We just get snapped straight back into brokenness.
And ultimately, if people die in that state of brokenness and separated from God, and that means that that's eternal separation from God.
Do you know what this place is often called? Yes.
What God did was he didn't want to leave us in that place.
God loved us so much that he sent his son Jesus to die on the cross.
Jesus was God, so he had no sin. And when he died and rose again, he actually took on all of our sin and cancelled it, like he crushed it.
He said if we would turn away from our sin and believe in Jesus and make Jesus
the Lord of our life, we become restored
back into God's original design.
And you become a new creation, a new person in Christ.
And will restore us back into relationship with him. So there's only two kinds of people in this world. People that are in brokenness or God's perfect design. Where would you see yourself?
Probably right there, to be honest.
This circle.
I'm not sure.
Love?
Brokenness?
Possibly love.
The bungee stage.
Yeah, the same.
and where would you like to
So where would you like to be? You'd like to be here? Yeah.
Right there. Give me the star circle.
One with God.
So here? So is there anything that's stopping you
From turning and believing in Jesus?
And allow him to be Lord and King of your life.
Stubbornness.
Probably not.
Probably weed, to be honest.
Nothing's stopping me.
You know the awesome news about Jesus? He is the only way out.
If you try to clean yourself up before coming to Jesus, it's like trying to get clean before you take a shower.
Oh, I see, yeah, I get that.
Is there anything stopping you?
We shared the 3 circles with 34 people. 4 were already believers. 13 chose to remain in brokenness, but some were deeply impacted. And 17 wanted to leave brokenness and receive Christ. There are many powerful ways to share the gospel, and the 3 circles is a great place to start.
If you're enjoying the Movements podcast, don't forget to leave a review and spread the word via social media. This has been Steve Addison for the Movements podcast.